Welcome, everybody. We're going to do some gentle stretching, some breathing exercises, and I thought we'd do a bit of tapping today. So whether maybe you're familiar with it, maybe you're not, we'll follow along and see how we go, but we'll start with just any kind of movement. So you might want to wiggle or shake, or maybe your neck is stiff and you want to give yourself a little massage, or just putting some movement in your body, whatever feels good. Oh, I've got some cracks and creaks in my neck, which is fine as long as you're not feeling pain. Like little creaks of your joints is usually totally fine in your body. It's something that happens to all of us. So maybe you want to put some movement into your shoulders. This is a place where a lot of people carry tension. Maybe you intentionally add tension, bringing the shoulders up to the ears, and then drop them down and let them, just hang there and let them be naturally heavy. Maybe you put a little bit of movement into the neck with some neck circles, just being mindful. You don't want to crank into your neck too much, but just being gentle, feeling any places that feel stiff or tight. And if you do find a space, maybe you give it a little massage or you linger there a little bit longer. Again, you don't have to look exactly like me. Make this your own practice and feel empowered to make it your own practice. Maybe we put a little bit of movement into our torsos. So maybe some twisting would feel good, looking over one shoulder and taking a breath here. I'm looking over the other shoulder and taking a breath here. And moving with your breath, if that feels good to you. Or some people like a more static stretch and they want to stay on one side for 4 or 5 breaths. And that's fine too. If you like a dynamic stretch, do a few back and forth on the left, then the right, then the left, then the right. And again, just make it your own. Maybe it feels good to do some torso circles, getting into the hips a little bit. And you can do this from the floor or from the chair, going in one direction and the other direction. Just seeing how's the balance today. How far can you go? How far can you go to one side, to the front, to the back, while still maintaining that core control and making sure you go, if you're going in one direction, switching it up and going the other direction as well. So we might not think of this as a core exercise, but it really is. Anytime you're self-supporting, anytime you are sitting without something supporting you behind your back, that is a core exercise. Anytime you're doing diaphragmatic belly breathing, that is a core exercise. You don't have to be doing crunches in order to engage and develop the muscles in your core. And then maybe we want to stretch out the legs a little bit. Maybe you alternate extending one leg and extending the other, or maybe some ankle circles would feel good. You can either do those independently, or sometimes I like to cross one leg over the other and use my hand to help articulate in the ankle. That can feel great, or even some massage on the bottom of the foot can feel really good. We're just warming up the body, and I think it's a little bit, you can feel counterintuitive that we're moving the body so that we get settled to sit still. But I think doing some gentle stretches, make sure you switch to the other side if you haven't already, doing some gentle stretches and some warming up before we ask a lot of stillness of ourselves can actually be really nice. It can kind of help us arrive in the stillness and feel really good about the stillness. So if there's anything else that your body is asking for, any other movements or anything, if you want to readjust, or maybe it feels good to put a pillow behind your back, or it feels good to put your feet up on a stool or something, whatever it is, figure it out. Find yourself into a really nice, comfortable seat. And if you're not familiar with tapping, it's sometimes called the emotional freedom technique. We're just going to use some of the acupressure or acupuncture spots on the body while reciting a mantra. And so sometimes we use a very specific thing that we're working on, something that is frustrating to us, a problem that we're having, something that's been bothering us, interpersonal relationship. So if you have something that you want to use as your mantra, lovely. By all means, do that. Otherwise, I like to use the mantra, even though I am an imperfect human, I completely love and accept myself. So if you want to use mine, that's great. If you want to use your own, that's fine too. And you can just follow along. If you're not quite familiar, it's fine. You just do the best you can, and we'll go through it a couple times so you get the hang of it. And we'll start with the karate chop right on the side of the hand, and just calm the breathing, relax into it, and say our mantra. Even though I'm an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. And we'll move from the karate chop, we'll move to some of the places on the head. We can start with the top of the head. Even though I am an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. And we'll do the eyebrows. Even though I am an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely, moving towards the temples. Even though I am an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. We'll do between the nose and the upper lip. Even though I am an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. And on the chin, even though I am an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. And we'll go underneath the armpits. Even though I am an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. And we'll go through that again with starting with the karate chop. Even though I'm an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. The top of the head. Even though I'm an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. And the eyebrows. Even though I am an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. And over to the temples. Even though I'm an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. Above the top lip. Even though I'm an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. Beneath the lips. Even though I'm an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. And under the armpits. Even though I'm an imperfect human, I love and accept myself completely. And then we'll find some stillness. We'll find the breath. And we'll count down from 10 to 1. Inhale. And a nice slow exhale, 10. And an inhale. And a nice slow exhale, 9. And if you lose track, it's no big deal. You just start back at 10. And if you breathe quickly and you get to 0, fine, just start back at 10. We're just regulating ourselves, thinking about the breath, focusing on the breath, inhaling and exhaling and counting back. It's nice if we can inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose, but that's not always possible. So don't beat yourself up if you're stuffy today or that breathing pattern just doesn't quite work for you. It's not a big deal. Do what feels good in your body. Inhaling and exhaling and counting back. And then take one more breath in through the nose and slowly out through the nose, no matter where you are in the counting. And just take stock, check in. How do you feel? Have you settled? Is there any part of your body that's still tight or tense? And can you breathe into that part of the body? Can you give it extra permission to relax, even just a little bit, even by 1%? Can you give yourself permission to let the seat hold you so that you don't have to do so much of the work? Can you let go a tiny bit? And we'll move from some deep belly breaths, which we were just doing, into a box breathing pattern. And some people like to count, and maybe they'll count 4 or 5 on the inhale, and they'll count 4 or 5 on the hold at the top, and they'll count 4 or 5 on the exhale, and they'll count 4 or 5 on the hold at the bottom. And if that works for you, great. Some people just like to be more intuitive, and they inhale and they hold for what feels like the same amount of time, and exhale for what feels like the same amount of time, and hold the breath at the bottom. For other people, breath retention makes them very anxious. And if that's you, that's okay. Don't do it. Just focus on inhaling and exhaling at a consistent rate. So inhaling for the same amount of time as you're exhaling. And one technique isn't better or worse. We are all individual. We are all unique. So you've got to own it and do what works in your body. Some people like to really challenge themselves and they want to extend for as long as possible. But if you find yourself gasping or you can't wait to exhale because you're so ready to do so at the end of the breath hold, you might actually be triggering your flight or flight response rather than calming yourself down. So there's no shame in doing 3 or 4 seconds and just keeping it nice and easy. Make it as easy for yourself as possible. Inhaling and holding the breath at the top, and exhaling and holding the breath at the bottom, and carrying on in whatever way works best in your body today. Sometimes we let the ego drive us because we feel like we could do it better or differently previously. And we forget that we are a different body every day with different circumstances, under different conditions, and that it's not helpful to compare ourselves to anyone else. And sometimes it's not even helpful to compare ourselves to ourselves and instead operate with a beginner's mind and just see what happens today. Inhaling and holding the breath at the top, and exhaling and holding the breath at the bottom. This breathing pattern is famously used by the Navy SEALs in America to help regulate their heartbeat and to keep them still and calm under pressure. So this is a really good one if you feel yourself getting anxious Doing a few rounds of box breathing can help you self-regulate and help bring you back into a state of equilibrium so you can make good choices, rational choices, instead of getting caught up in the emotions or the fight or flight response. And we'll do one more round. So wherever you are, we'll do one more round of inhale, holding the breath at the top. Exhale, and hold the breath at the bottom. And then just invite the breath to breathe you. Let it come and go however feels natural, whether you feel that in your chest, or maybe you feel it in the ribs. Maybe you naturally engage the diaphragm and you can feel it in the belly. But just take stock again. How are you feeling physically? And adjust if there's any discomfort. And then how are you feeling emotionally? And we'll try to label how we're feeling without judgment. And this is really hard, so don't beat yourself up if this is hard for you. So sometimes a one way to do this is to say, I am experiencing, and whatever the emotion is. So instead of saying, I feel anger, we can say, I'm experiencing anger, or anger is in this experience. So we give ourselves a little bit of distance because our emotions are like the clouds or like the tide. They come and they go, but they do not define who we are. So if you are feeling anxious, instead of saying, I am anxious and identifying with it, you can say, I'm having an experience of anxiety, and know that this is all temporary and it comes and it goes. And that's unfortunately the same for the positive emotions too. I'm experiencing calmness. I am experiencing joy, because we know that even the emotions that we like to cling to, the emotions that feel good in our body, those are also temporary. That is all a part of being human. So I'll invite you into another breathing pattern. We're going to do some heart-centered breathing with the 3-part breath. And again, if this doesn't work in your body or this just doesn't feel right today, just focus on inhaling and exhaling through the nose if you can, and that's enough. That's fine. There's no Olympic medal for best breath worker. But if you want to try the 3-part breath, we'll breathe into the belly, inviting the breath all the way down, let the diaphragm do the work. And then inhale again into the ribs. And then inhale one more time to fill all the way up into the chest. And then a long, slow exhale. And you can exhale through the mouth if that feels good, or you can exhale through the nose. So it looks like this. In, 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 long out. In, in, long out. And if my pace isn't right for you, you work at your own pace. Inhaling to the belly, into the ribs, into the chest. And then a long, slow exhale. Into the belly, into the ribs, into the chest. And a long, slow exhale. Belly, ribs, chest. Exhale. Belly, ribs, chest. Exhale. Into the belly. Fill the ribs all the way up. And then let it all go. In, 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 and slowly out. I'm going to do a few more in your own time. Take your time finishing the next round of breath into the belly, into the ribs, into the chest, and letting it all go. Letting your breath return to your normal, whatever feels right in your body. Paying special mind to your heart center and a positive emotion you'd like to cultivate for the rest of the day. And that doesn't mean it's going to be with you the entire day. It's just something that you would like a little bit more of. So maybe it's calmness or stillness, maybe it's happiness or appreciation. Whatever it is, cultivate it right in your chest. What does it feel like to feel this positive emotion? What do you do when this emotion arises? What kind of thoughts do you think when you're feeling this? What kind of actions do you take when you feel like this? How are your interactions with other people when this is the emotion that you're feeling? And then what's one tiny step, a little bitty baby goal that you can have for the rest of the day to keep this emotion that you're cultivating with you, even for a little while? Make it something really easy, really achievable, something you can feel good about. And when you're ready, you can bow your chin to the chest. If your eyes are closed, maybe you want to rub the palms together to generate a little bit of heat if it's starting to feel cool where you live. And maybe you cover the eyes, blink them open gently, let the light come in slowly. Maybe give yourself a little massage around the forehead, around the temples. And in your own time, coming back into the space. Thanks for practicing with me today.